Hello, welcome to USA Homeless Crisis. I'm David, and today I have another David that's homeless, and I met him, and he said he would like to share his story with my audience, and I want everybody to listen to what David has to say. So, how you doing, David?
Good. How you doing today? I'm well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm doing great also. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, David. Where are you from?
I'm actually from out here, Mansfield, Bedford, border to Waco. Texas is my basically my home. But I lived in Minnesota 5 years, and I was cold. And Texas can sometimes be it's cold like Minnesota, and then like 90 degrees like today, all of a sudden.
Okay, well, tell me then, how did you become homeless?
Circumstances is the key word to homelessness. None of us choose to be homeless. It's something that happens, especially with today's environment. Like you get an argument at the house, you can end up homeless that next day. You can be in any situation given with the greatest ideas and your greatest attempts at life and still end up homeless. Through me, I got in a money argument about, or I got in an argument about money during COVID, and ended up out here. Except when I came out here, I decided to stay and learn about it, because there has to be a reason greater than people just not just being homeless, but actually there's something in it, and each person is different, but each one of us have a story that we can tell you that you would have to really kind of sit back and ask yourself, how does God work? This guy shows up, his name's David. It's actually YHVH. My name's David. That's actually YHVH. Then you have, wandering people wandering around out here, and, Jesus had no place to lay his head. So I know these types of things. I know, how to look at things, but sometimes you have to be still in a situation like homelessness and wait for the time that's correct for you, because it's very difficult to get out of homelessness once you get into it. And it's not the fact that how do you say it? People are like, you just choose to do it, and things become like God knows how to separate you, and that goes for some of us. And God knows where to put you to get your attention. And sometimes the dome of the sky, and you are wandering around in the wilderness like 40 years, like all of the other Israelites and stuff like that. You start going through these type of emotions, you start to recognize them as that. And it makes it easier to be homeless, but it's a season for us. Just like it should be a season for anything else. It's not a forever clause. It's in the moment. And if you're meeting a person, you see a person that is homeless, you're just reflecting, it's reflecting you. And then he's reflecting, it's kind of this duality thing that, I want to be there, but I'm not. But, this helps the situation in God's time, because, I'm content. I'm not staying out here forever. It's, God can keep me out here as long as he wants to. And I'm not blaming God. I'm just recognizing God in the moment, which is very important for us out here, because we depend solely, a lot of us do, on a donation, it doesn't matter how small it is, or how big it is. What it is the recognition of the person that stops and talks to you and wants to know, or stops and helps you out because what would you do? What would you need? Or takes the time out of their day to come feed us. Because there's a lot of circumstances that have to take place to get out of it once you're here. A lot of families panic ticket talking about trespassing and you're at your house. It's because you got in an argument and they have to separate somehow. You're out here a year now because of little things that can happen, but that's a year, and it's very difficult to get out of that. Where you go, what do you do? Then money starts to, you can imagine how expensive it can get trying to live in a hotel. So we have to learn and be versatile. We have to learn and to go with the flow of trying to get back up from a knockout punch that you never saw coming. And that happens all the time. Like this place, it fills up at least once a week. And people come and go. But I've been out here and native to it, got really a couple of years. But the circumstances kept me out here. But what really keeps me going every day and doing what I do is I'm growing. And by saying that means once you learn homelessness, there's no fear of life. A lot of people panic when they don't have a home. God, well, let me tell you, it will never be that bad that you can't leave. And Fort Worth will help you out as much as they can. You will never go hungry out here, and I believe it's a great spot for this to happen. I think that God actually works a lot out here because He does. And for me, excuse me, for me, and I'll say this, you can really see Him work a lot in the moment. That's really what I look for. Sometimes He shows up. You just have to be ready for how He shows up. And you have to be willing to participate in how He's doing it. And I'm always a willing participant in what I believe to be, God's orchestrated plan. And some people have that type of faith, and some people have the type of faith that will get them to that type of faith. But you have to go through the motions, and you also have to learn. And I've learned a lot out here. It's like I said, Solomon in time of Ecclesiastes will tell you everything has the time. And it's a true statement. But
I want everybody to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. David, I have some Niagara water, and I'd like to give you some water. And you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
David, you seem to have very strong faith, and my listeners is very interested in that. And I talk to homeless people, and they say that's one of the things that keep them persevering and overcoming while they're out here. Tell us a little bit more about your faith.
I'll tell you this much. It's a gift. It's just like Ephesians 2:8-9 tell you. Faith is a gift that no man may boast. Except there's a contingency clause with it. You have to use the faith and show that you have it. It's not that God doesn't know you don't have it. He knows that you have it. It's like anything else. How much do you use it? Out here, you have to use it consistently because there's no telling. We can't tell you. It's a different world out here. I'll say that. But it's one of you'll see a biblical nature to it. You will see it. You will actually. Your time is a different time than what a person lives in a car, or a person lives in a home, or anything that we would deem normal in 2025. It all changes when you're homeless in 2025. Really, I can almost just say you're walking, or I'm just walking with God, because that's what you have to do, and get on that level to be able to see faith to be able to understand what a biblical mindset would be. And a lot of it is fear. You have to come out of your fear of anything. Homelessness is a fear. People will tell you that they don't want to be homeless quicker. That's why they don't want to be quicker than anything on the planet. I don't want to be homeless. I mean, you have a, and that will keep you in a bad situation. It just will. And some people that know about this were willing to come out of it. Except what happens is this: your faith is so strong that you can actually build other people up that are out here. And people don't know that they will ask me, and just like David asked me, are you homeless? It's because of the way I look. Okay, yes, I'm homeless, and I live and other people that know me out here, they know where I live. I just don't tell them. If you do, that's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? You know another person you live with. But it becomes more of a, I'm doing something greater than I was doing anyways out there in the world. And they're what they would call the world. And it works both different, it works both ways. And God doesn't have to tell you if something bad happened, like if you died, God does not have to tell you that. God doesn't have to tell you anything. What I'm saying about that is sometimes you have to walk through it to understand what happened. Homelessness, I think that a lot of people end up in homeless situations and they're searching for an answer because it talks about when you lose your home, it's like you've died. And I've lost my home and I haven't died, regardless of where I am, died in the sense of, but to that situation, yes, I guess the death occurred. So what can I utilize or how can I minister the living, walking temple of God that everyone can see? You're bringing a light to a situation with a lot of darkness. And that's how I see it. And I'm glad people are confused and the light just came on over there. LEDs come on at certain times. And God knows when that is. But yes, the light. I don't mind being the light. But I have to be in the situation or stay in the situation where God has me. People are like, God would never have you homeless. Well, Jesus had no place to lay his head. He did, right? And the second time he comes back, how is he coming back? What's he going to be like? Where's he going to be? Well, he would definitely be out here. Why? Because that's all he knows, and really, he's going to have the same group of friends as he had at the same time. He's going to be coming back to get the people that he knew the first time. And I never met him, or I never understood the Bible to tell you that he was in there with the kings or anything. He gets there. He does get there. Except his testimony has to be as powerful as he is, as great as he is. He's always got to have, he's going to be number one on every, but he's got to go through the same things as he saved you for. Like you give him the sin. You freely say he died for my sin. You say that twice, you get it. You say it 2 times, you'll say, wait a minute. And then wait a minute, yeah, so he gets to keep and use it like you get the Spirit and get to keep and use it. It's not that he's using it. He can't mediate for something he doesn't understand. That would be dishonest. You see what starts happening? You start to run into a clause of God in a box. He's not in a box. He just shows up in forms or ways that you're just like, wow, that's incredible. And to understand what the cross is really about is like the greatest thing you can ever understand. Because it now, when you understand what happened on the cross and the transaction that happened, then you can understand, wait a minute, your position. Because it's not about how good you can be, it's who you are with all your vices, even out here, and then how can I use that to glorify God the most? I never met Jesus meeting anybody at their highest point. That's never the scripture. It's always, Jesus met me at my lowest point. Well, wouldn't he have to be there with you? So there's a lot of spiritual aspect to life. There's a lot of things that people come in and go and there, yeah, there's a person there or a being there or something. But it's kind of...
I want everybody to make sure you hit that like button and comment and subscribe. You know, I was listening to what you were saying, and you were saying some things that really hit home. And I want you to continue to talk to our audience about where did you get such strong faith? And you know the Bible a lot, and people are very, very interested in that. Do you have a group of people that you talk to out here and minister to?
I have a group of... I'm a loner, pretty much, but I have my people. And what I say about that is, I tend to run into the right person at the right time, and I do have a group that I tend to run into consistently, and when I need to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I talk to all these people about God. I can naturally. It's a gift, just like anything else. There's a lot of things that we do just in spirit that touches a lot of people. You feel me? Like you can have a conversation with yourself. So I've separated just unto the Father. Why? Because people don't understand the relationship between them and God. It's about what Christ did for them that opens up the door for them to enjoy who they are while Christ lives through them, and while you become the best version of yourself that you can. And that takes a long time, because eternity is a long time. That goes for anything. It's like saying you're going to fix extra stuff.
What would you say is the plan for the homeless to end homelessness? Is there a plan, and what is it, if you could tell us?
Homelessness is a circumstance. A plan for the homeless. There's a plan for God to be glorified at utmost. And Jesus is the first and the last. The plan for homelessness is just like any other plan of God. For Him to be glorified the most through it. If it exists, there's a reason it exists. And all people of all faith, whatever, of Jesus Christ, well, God has people homeless, so that can be seen through the church, through just anything you can do. That's why it exists. You will always have the poor with you, but you will never have. You won't always have me with you. Remember what it says about that? You remember all that? Because homelessness isn't forever for anybody. It's God's way of, because it's God's way of testing just the people, but it's also it's a reflection. We're out here we're homeless. You walk through your day, but you still have the dome in the sky. So we call homelessness a misunderstood. It's kind of misunderstood, because actually we just live different, like in a booth or a tent, but it's still a home. It's just viewed differently, and I would recommend that people experience it, because I think that most people will have to, in a sense, especially with what's going on in the world anyway. But it's just for a season, There's always a renewal aspect to the individual, born again.
That's what I was gonna I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Go
you
right
go ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna ask that do you expect to be homeless the rest of your life? But you kind of answered that about this is just for a season.
It's what the blessing is if I don't die out. That's the blessing. But you have to be going through to really see the blessing of that. Like, God only took the Israelites how far? 20 miles for 40 years, and a lot happened. If you know the word, you know what not to do out here in the wilderness. Don't start blaming whatever it is. You just be grateful that you're able to. Yeah, don't start blaming God, because everything good that comes, it's true. It's God. God may leave you to yourself for a little while, and damn, that just gets negative real quick. And that's a test for great peoples of faith, because any person of faith that I know of had been homeless or had things about them that you just didn't quite understand. They always had something special about them, but I know this, that they went through some tough times. You can't have a great testimony without this being involved.
David, you said something, and I would like for you to explain a little bit further so my listeners could understand, because you know a lot about the Bible. You keep mentioning the Israelites. Explain that a little bit to my listeners who don't understand who the Israelites are. You have mentioned them twice in, talking about your journey. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally. I'm Hebrew, Israelites are people, Jewish people. The name Jewish, like people, use the word Jew. If you know what it means, it makes it a lot easier for us to have a conversation about it.
Well, my
really
listeners.
Jewish.
Go
I'm
right.
sorry.
Nope.
I'm saying the Israelites, the Jewish people. It just means faith, to praise. That's all it means. The faith, God, salvation was introduced through them. When He focuses on you, that's what that relationship is. It's how God takes care of His people. And all this reason why I talk a lot about them is because I wouldn't know how to not go through this without knowing about the wilderness. That's how you don't want to approach it mad. You want to approach it as grateful in whatever circumstance, believe me, because He tells you you're there, and it gets you into a biblical mindset about there's nothing that really matters but that relationship. And it's not that you get it at first. What happens is you're just put in a situation where you have to recognize it. It's because God recognizes you. The Israelites weren't doing anything, or the Jews weren't doing anything when God recognized them. They were just in the field, and God covered them. Well, that's a blessing. And a lot of people see that as, what? Why did you just leave them? And see what we start doing. It's the fact that you're in the situation you're in, and it doesn't matter who you are. We all know the time when we come to Jesus talking about, I need help. I've been penitentiary, I've done time, I've done a lot of things, and we all know that moment. It doesn't matter what you worship, that whatever it is you're doing, or going to, it can fix it somehow, and it's always greater than yourself. And sometimes it starts there, because you never end up in the same spot where you started with faith. You don't. You start with a little faith that's a gift, and it grows. How does it grow? Because you actually care about it. And you just start going and becoming, a biblical individual. Because that's really the same people in the Bible are the same people today. There's nothing new. There's nothing new going on. It's just a different time. We just have, ways of reaching out to the world. The guy shows up with phone and the camera. And I mean, where did all of a sudden come from? Well, it helps with the bridging of the gap of not knowing everything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything anymore because you have a device that, bridges that and gets you to where you can have all the information at your hand. These devices and tools are an answer to the question of, well, how would you, well, eternity's a long time and God's got some cool stuff involved in it. It depends on how you use it. And it works for you rather than against you. And people know about cell phones and how they can go both ways with certain individuals. What I'm doing is showing you the question is, if Christ doesn't come back and know everything every time, then how does he know everything? Because Wi-Fi is actually a name. And I say some wild stuff sometimes, but it's kind of a cool thing. Wi-Fi is actually the name of God. It's YHVH. It's there. It's not like he doesn't there. We tap into this invisible thing all the time. We give it names, and it's so funny that the names that we give it are actually biblical in nature, because the invisible force around you, keeps this phone going or information coming to it, and we've got a name to quickly tag on it. And so the cool thing is what it is, and that keeps it going. Kind of like all the people out here going to and fro work. That will always be going on. It's energy. I say that because it's what it is. Constantly going. It's moving. Are you draining? Are you adding to the energy in the positive, or are you draining with the negative because of your circumstances? And I don't see me as a victim. I'm not a victim as it may be spoken. I see like God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit as a victim, because they don't see. I've never heard the argument out here that Jesus, the Holy Spirit, or God has sinned against them. I've never heard that argument ever. I've never heard it, actually. I don't think I have. And I've dealt with some heavy hitting, on both sides. Biblical, whatever. And they've never sinned against them. Those three, it's us that offended them. The interesting thing is they're still involved. They don't have to be. And that's a lot of you have to be in a bad situation to recognize some truths that you can never recognize anywhere else. And I'm appreciative of how God deals with me. This isn't something like I'm just gonna tell you all this stuff, because it doesn't benefit me any to tell you all this stuff, because it doesn't fit. People that understand what I mean by that, they understand. What it does is that when it's all said and done, God gets most of the glory. And get it all, it's what it's about. So I can't go around, feeling sorry for myself if God's dealt with me and got me here, that I can explain something to whoever it is that I'm explaining it to. That I had to go through it as well to bring the information. Well, the information is always going in a direction that helps out, but most of all, when it's all said and done, that God will get the most glory from it. Even if you mess up, it's not that you're messing up, it just had to be done that way, and you were fit, you were good at that, you were the one that had, and that's the way I look at it. Like, I was, okay, well, even if I think I'm screwing up, well, I was still put in a position, and I had the strength, and God knew that I had the ability to get through it. And that's how I look at a lot of things. Most of them.
Well, I got to tell you, this is USA Homeless Crisis, and this is the Homeless People's Forum to talk about the reality of what's going on. And that may be why you are talking right now, because this is the time and the place for you to speak and to let everybody know what God has in store for you and for whoever else that you need to speak on. Now, I want to ask you this, since you said that, and you're very well spoken. I'd like to say that too.
Okay.
What could you say to people out here that have a negative attitude toward people that's out here homeless, that don't treat others the way they would like others to treat them? What could, if you are the spokesman for the homeless people and you're walking around like you're doing now, what could you do to create a positive attitude toward homeless people?
Paul said it. Paul asked this 3 times to God. What was that? Paul asked God to remove the thorn in the flesh, which was the buffeter of Satan. Demons, demons exist, Satan exists, but it's just true. That's part of it. It's how you view it. Wherever you go, there's going to be a balance of a negative to humble you. Not because that can't be in control, because you have to God's the best at teaching you how to be the best you can be. And recognizing that and growing from the circumstances that come from out here or anywhere else you are, that person that or that individual with a negative attitude, it should always be viewed as, at least I'm not there anymore. Does that like make sense? Like you can look and you don't have to respond to that person. You can walk, you can just be like, wow, you know what? Because that's what I would have said if I was in your position. That's exact, but I'm not. So that sucks, man. And what do you need? Do you need me to help you? It's fine. But do you need me to help you? You know what? If I was in that, I might have said the same thing. But I'm not in that position. And you get to see yourself grow, because if you don't have anything to bounce it off of, that person's there to help you. That person actually, you run into so many of them out here, but that person really helps me, because that's kind of like how I see it. A lot of the stuff I'm kind of like explaining, because I don't do videos, for I don't do all that, but I do talk online a lot about a lot of things. This is a little bit more personal, because this is how we do it. And this is how, in my world, this is how it should be done. This is how I'm doing it. And yes, the negative attitude is really kind of like gets you doing one of two things. Moving around, it gets you up, you're okay, damn. And it gets you to be grateful real quick, because you're not that. Or you understand how to get through the situation that he's complaining about. And also having that information is it's a blessing, because what he thought wasn't possible now becomes possible. Or she, or whatever you're dealing with. Because out here, you could be a person that's been doing it a long time. Or you could be the person that just showed up. And it's the person that just showed up that I always get their story. I say, to explain to you what happened, because if I meet them, and I'm one of the first people they meet, I take that very seriously, because there's nobody in anybody's life out here or anywhere that you are that God has not put directly in front of you for whatever reason. Now, the conversation or whatever it is, you're either there to help that person or that person. It's divine, no matter what it is. It's how does this fit into the moment? Well, it's recognizing who you are can help a lot of your situations. And there's always kind of a blueprint about who you are biblically. Perfection's been achieved, yes. It got across. Well, that you don't want you to be, it's careful, but perfection got across. But God is so perfect that he found a way to put perfection on a cross that allows God to be God, and it allows Jesus Christ to be the Son of God, because he is given the sin and the curse. And then you have a bunch of a bunch of body parts in Christ. You have a bunch. So, and the times are what they are. Doom and gloom, that is already decided. Yes, you see the light coming on. But yeah, doom and gloom is part of figuring out, getting through tribulation or whatever it is. But doom and gloom also does this. It also separates you. And it also forms a body. You know, who will not be defeated and who can't be defeated. We've already testified to this every Sunday. Or every day that you go and whatever it is, I say Sunday because I look at Sunday as the first day of the week, and like I got to tackle this week because I know it's going to be a week, and it's going to be a heck of a week. Like it's going to be hell's week, and I just ride with it with God, because having an understanding of accepting who you are, and then figuring out a way for you to be you, the best you can be. Because if God's dealing with you, he already recognizes Christ in you. And if you look at me, it kind of looks like, well, you start to be conformed to the image of the Son. And that's the reality of it. I'm out here, I look like this, but if these are the mandates and the contingencies to being, the child of God, well, then that's what they are. It tells you what you'll go through, be persecuted, you'll have a hard time. But you won't have a hard time at all. That's what they'll see. What you'll see is, you'll start to understand the greatest relationship you can have is an understanding of who the true God, the true invisible living God is. And it really comes down to the knowledge you have about Christ and what happened. I say that with emphasis because a lot of conversations only benefit us about Christ. Oh, he died for my sin. Until I put what I had already stated in there. I said, does he get to keep it? And does he get to use it? And I said, can I be here right now if I was perfect and talking to you? And no, I couldn't, because it would be too much. It's like the very thing that you can't go into those. It's like that it wouldn't be possible because holiness wouldn't allow it. How many times did Christ actually sit down with people? There was very little that he actually sat down with. He was always separated. You would have to go find him. But Christ always knew who to talk to because they showed up at the right time, or vice versa. It's kind of like what happens out here. You get to see God working in a way you can't even fathom because the person you need to talk to who needs to talk to you, they show up. And it becomes like, what? And we're so worried about the world and what's going on with that. It's a different situation when you're doing it like this, because it's a blessing rather than a curse. The curse becomes a blessing. There's a lot said in that, but you would expect him to know all walks of life. And I can testify that he does. Yeah, we have to. And understand it. And you can find a lot out here, because, they come from all over the world to come to America. There's a reason for that.
Well, I got to tell you, David, we have been very much enlightened by your biblical knowledge and the different things about what's going on with the homeless people. And I wish we had more time to talk to you so you could tell us more. But we really appreciate your strong faith and what you're doing out here for other homeless people on the streets. I want you to keep the faith, and I want everybody to remember to help the homeless people no matter where they are. And when you leave home, remember, put something in your car, because this could easily be you one day. Thank you very much, David. We really appreciate it.